Hello, Archie Luxury channel, and today I'm doing a review for David Danny. Hey AC3, I just sent you $50 via PayPal. I'm going to send you the watch photos for the face-off in separate transmissions, starting with the Rolly and then the Baume. American slang for great, really great, in case you're not familiar with the idiom. That includes one of my dogs, Sid, as a vicious because my clumsy finger inadvertently pressed it as an adjacent picture. But it may help break up monotony and add a little color. And one of the little Baume in action in my 740, as in luxury BMW. And you will be pleased to know what I consider myself a good chap, as I always try and keep it clean. In any event, I look forward to you authenticating the dueling dials in your usual manner, with a little wine jug at your disposal. So let me know when the contest will air. Finally, there are probably a few who appreciate your rapscallion nature as much as I do. So please take to my time, and perhaps a bit too much, email in the spirit in which it was drafted, which was not without considerable effort, the continued preservation of AC3 and the betterment of the channel. This is from David, and he says there, I have a long email and several photos sent to you regarding a paid review comparison between an Rolex Oyster Perpetual and a Baume and Mercier Avant-Garde or Monte Carlo, both circa 1984. It's dueling brothers. Watch off for wisdom and need to know to send you a modest fee, PayPal or credit card. I'm thinking I'll send it to you by PayPal. Send $50 since it involves two watches and a lengthy email for you to read, digest, and probably take a few words up in the dictionary. Let me know. I'm standing by the... Okay, he's transmitted it. So this is David. And I love nice 740 BMW. It's a great car. David, I got to tell you the truth there. You know, the whole reason why Baume and Mercier as a brand really sucks is because Baume and Mercier, it was, I got to be honest with you, Baume and Mercier really sucks. It's the problem with Baume and Mercier is they are so fashion fickle, okay? I mean, they were a decent Swiss watchmaking company. I mean, years ago, all the watchmakers, you'd have a case that did, you'd have a company that did the cases, a company that did the dials, you had a company that did the movements, and you'd put it together, and that's the kind of way it went. But Baume and Mercier is so fashion fickle. Looking at your watch there, it's a byproduct of a bygone era that is gratefully not coming back. And the reason it's not a classic is it's because it's so trendy at the time. It was so cool, so Swiss, just so cool. And see, Baume and Mercier themselves there, they really didn't put enough effort into developing their own uniqueness. And that's what's wrong with Baume and Mercier. It's sort of the watch you'd expect an accountant to wear. You look at some of the new Baume and Merciers like the Capelin. Really cool, really trendy, but nothing really unique. In the 80s and 90s, you had the Riviera. Remember the Riviera, the Baume and Mercier Riviera? They were so cool, so cool. And it just never really... They just didn't push it the right way, I think. See, there was a time when using ETA movements was perfectly acceptable. Baume and Mercier seem to have just kept that fucking candle going. And this is the whole problem with Baume and Mercier, is that the watch you present here is so small by modern standards. It's really an integrated dress watch with very little waterproofing. So any examples that do exist today They've been worn by middle-aged men for the last 30 years who think they're cool because they're wearing a Swiss watch. And that's the problem with this Baume & Mercier of yours. It's a piece of its time, okay? Not in a good way. See, there are pieces that are really cool, like, say, this Omega Speedmaster Man on the Moon. It's been out since the late 50s, and it's essentially stayed the same. It was 42 mil, it was a sports watch, it served a purpose. But the Baume & Mercier, it was super trendy. And, you know, they ducked and dived and weaved, and now it's just... I'm sorry, it's super fucking dated. And that's not to say brands like Patek didn't have pieces which are grossly dated now, but fuck. These 80s sort of pieces, it's got that inlaid gold plating on it, the strips there. It's really out of style. And it's a bit of a copy. I mean, they've copied the Polo, haven't they? That's what the Corums had the Admiral's Cup, the really expensive Polo. You know, that sort of design, that's what they've done there. So in many ways, the Baume & Mercier is just so fucking dated. It's a small size, it's got the integrated bracelet. I don't think it'll ever come back. And, you know, it's kind of a time warp thing. It just lacks so much substance. See, Baume & Mercier had a really great period. They were always a decent sort of watch. They got a long history. They've been around for a long time. They survived, and they've had good things, but they never did their own thing. They never really. They're very similar to a Gerard Perregay in many ways, except Gerard Perregay tried to go up market. Baume & Mercier sort of stayed in that middle class ground there for people who think they're cool. And that's what's gone wrong with Baume & Mercier. Baume & Mercier, in the 80s, they had a revival. The Riviera series was so cool. This piece you've got here, the Monte Carlo, could you imagine? That would have been so cool to have in the 80s. They fluffed it. And you know, I remember lusting after a solid gold 18 karat Riviera. It was a Piaget Polo. That's what it's a copy of. It's a cheaper version of a Piaget Polo. And I gotta tell you, it just sucks. It just says desperate middle-aged man. That's what it says. Desperate middle-aged man. It's fucking anti-status, okay? And that's the problem with the Baume & Mercier. It's desperate middle age. Is it quartz? I think it's quartz. It's just, you know, it's one of these things. The reason it's just such a dog is that they were never waterproof. They were a dress sort of fashion type watch. And Barry Manilow's over. That sort of music is gone. David Cassidy had a certain lifespan as a musician, that bubblegum rock, and then it's over. It's over. And that's the same thing with this Baume & Mercier. It came in, it filled its niche at a right price point. It was cheaper than a Piaget Polo, a lot cheaper. It was for the lower middle class accountant or lawyer who thought they were so fucking cool, but they couldn't cough out for a Piaget Polo because whatever fucking reason. And that's what's wrong with it. it was never top of its game. It was always accountant, lawyer type watch. And that's the problem. The people who bought it were so uninspiring. They were boring fuckers. And this watch here, it's quartz, it's got that bullshit little bit of gold tone in it. It's really fucking dated. It's small. You can't give it to a woman because it's masculine, but it's too small for a man to wear. The guy who bought it when he was in his early 30s, he's now 60 and got a fucking spare tire on his front. It's just not a good look. It's not a fucking good look. And that's what's wrong with the Baume Mercier Avant-Garde or Monte Carlo. It's somebody who thought they were a player. Even in the day, they weren't a player. And now with that spare tire they've gained from eating at Denny's and free corporate lunches, they can't pull it off. They really can't pull it off. And that's why it's destined to remain an absolute fucking time warp shitter. Time warp shitter. That's what that Monte Carlo is. It's a time warp shitter. And it'll never come back in. Okay? It's got about as much chance of coming back as Chrysler has as being regarded as a reliable form of transport. They're fucking shitters. Chrysler's now owned by Fiat. Fuck me dead. Fix it again, Tony. It's an absolute disaster, David, and that thing has aged badly. The 30-year-old who thought he was cool in 1983 buying it, well, that was fucking 30 years ago. He's gained a spare tire at the front, and the watch doesn't make him cool. It's undersized, it's been worn to shit house, it's never had an ounce of love on it, and it's very lower tier, very lower. It's very lower tier. So I'm sorry, David. It's dipped out. It's really fucking dipped out. I'm sorry to say it, but that's what's wrong with the Baume Mercier. That's why it sucks monkey's balls, okay? It sucks monkey's balls because it's time warp. It was a time warp. And it's too small, it's quartz, integrated bracelet. See, Baume Mercier is a product of its time. They make really cool things at the time for accountants and lawyers to buy who think they're players. And that's the problem. This watch was never worn by anyone of real substance. It wasn't worn. Wasn't worn by world leaders. No, they got a free Rolex. Wasn't worn by elite athletes or sportsmen. No, they got a Piaget Polo. It wasn't worn by anyone except salesmen, accountants and lawyers. And that's why that watch is despised now as the demographic it was designed for. Tell me what you think. Am I wrong about the Baume Mercier? Am I taking poetic justice to a new form? Am I criticizing a brand which has got a great following, but Baume Mercier, it's an accountant's watch. And that's before the release of the movie, The Accountant. I'm Archie Luxury, talking about this watch and why it sucks. Tell me what you fuckers think of that.
We specialize in the repair of Rolex and Patek Philippe watches. We've been doing the same thing for more than 25 years. We have Rolex technicians certified by Rolex who actually used to work for the company for many years, like if we're doing the work on the factory. We completely disassemble the watch and we put it to work like brand new condition. When you get a pre-owned watch, it's like if you're getting a brand new unit. The only difference is the money.